If you buy like a highly complex premium piece of machinery.
Oh, like a luxury sports car or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. A luxury sports car. They hand you this thick manual, right?
Right.
And it tells you the exact mileage to change the oil, the specific viscosity of the fluids you need.
The precise tire pressure for different weather conditions.
Yeah, all of that. It is this incredibly granular guide to just keeping that machine alive.
And you follow the manual, and the machine runs beautifully. It's an entirely predictable equation.
Totally predictable. But then you bring home a giant 100+ pound working dog, and suddenly you are operating completely in the dark.
Oh, completely.
I mean, a lot of really well-meaning people think they're doing the right thing, right? Like feeding this massive animal a ton of high-protein food.
Oh, yeah, and taking it out for like 5-mile runs to build muscle.
Right. And without even realizing it, they are quietly destroying the biological engine.
They really are. The rules for raising and maintaining a massive, structurally demanding animal, like a Cane Corso,
Yeah,
for instance, they actively defy basic human intuition.
they really do.
The things that feel like excellent care to us can actually be, well, catastrophic for a giant breed.
Which is crazy to think about. But
Yeah.
welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, we are looking at a veterinary health roadmap that completely flips the script on how you raise a giant breed dog.
We really are.
We've pulled together insights from a highly detailed expert veterinary discussion. It's titled The Lifetime Health Checklist. And the mission for our deep dive today is to extract the core, actionable takeaways for managing a Cane Corso across its entire lifespan.
Because caring for a giant, notoriously stoic working breed, it's essentially a masterclass in dynamic management.
Dynamic management, I like that.
Yeah, because the priorities you have for this animal, they shift dramatically. I mean, the physical requirements, the nutritional needs, the medical threats at, say, 8 weeks old, they share almost zero overlap with the threats at 8 years old.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because looking at this roadmap, we actually need to start the timeline before the puppy even exists in your living room.
Right. Way before.
Yeah, the foundation built by genetics and the early environment essentially dictates the absolute physical limits of your dog for the rest of its life.
And people tend to really rush this step.
Oh, for sure.
The excitement of getting a puppy takes over. And they just take a breeder's verbal assurance that, oh, yeah, the parents are healthy.
Right. Trust me, they're fine.
Exactly. But a Cane Corso is carrying an immense amount of weight on its skeletal frame.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
So a massive percentage of the severe orthopedic and cardiac issues that veterinarians treat in adult dogs.
Yeah.
They trace directly back to structural breeding decisions made years before the dog was even conceived.
Wow. And the source material has this incredibly blunt quote that I think every potential dog owner needs to just memorize.
Oh, the documentation one.
Yes. Healthy is a feeling. Documentation is a fact.
It is such a crucial distinction.
It really is.
Because a breeder claiming the parents are, quote, healthy, that just means the parents aren't actively dying in the backyard.
Right. It's a pretty low bar.
It's the lowest bar. A responsible Cane Corso breeder, they have to show you objective third-party certificates.
Like what kind of certificates?
Like hip and elbow evaluations, and ideally a cardiac clearance done by an actual veterinary cardiologist.
Oh, wow. So not just the local vet looking at them.
No, we are talking about objective measurements of the hip socket depth and joint laxity. Real data.
And look, if they don't have that paperwork, it doesn't automatically mean the breeder is running some malicious scam.
Right, not necessary.
But you are essentially rolling the dice on the structural integrity of a giant animal. You're just hoping the hip joints happen to align perfectly by chance.
Which is a huge gamble. And while you're evaluating those physical documents, you simultaneously have to evaluate the early environmental conditioning.
Okay, so like how they're raised early on.
Exactly.
Ah,
A well-bred puppy raised inside a bustling home, constantly exposed to dropping pans.
oh, vacuum cleaners, all that noise?
Yeah, vacuum cleaners, gentle handling by multiple people. That puppy develops entirely different neurological pathways than one raised in an isolated outdoor kennel.
That makes total sense. And for a powerful guarding breed, that early exposure isn't just like a fun puppy socialization checklist.
No, not at all.
It is a strict safety requirement. You have to ensure the adult dog can process unexpected stimuli without panicking, or worse, defaulting to aggression.
Right, because an anxious 100-pound dog is a real liability.
Absolutely. So, okay, once you bring that structurally sound, neurologically stable puppy home, you hit the very first major hurdle.
Nutrition.
Nutrition. And this is exactly where our human intuition leads us straight into a brick wall.
It really does.
Because my immediate assumption would be that a giant dog needs a giant amount of food.
Which makes sense on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want them to grow big and strong, so you pile on the protein, you add in the calcium supplements, and you just feed them as much as they'll eat.
And that is exactly what you should not do. Fast growth is the ultimate enemy of a giant breed.
The enemy. Wow.
Yeah, rapid expansion is exactly what severely stresses their developing joints. You have to restrict them to controlled, slow growth using large breed-specific puppy formulas.
You know, I was trying to picture how this actually works biologically while looking at the source, and the best analogy I could come up with is building a skyscraper.
Okay, I like this.
Imagine the puppy's skeleton is the steel foundation of the tower, right?
Right.
If you rush the construction of that steel frame by piling on too much weight, too fat, like before the concrete has cured, before the cross bracing is bolted in.
Then the whole thing is compromised.
Exactly. The entire building is structurally compromised. The steel bows under the premature weight.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how beautiful the exterior glass looks, the core architecture is just irreparably weak.
That perfectly illustrates the biological mechanism at play. It really does.
Oh, thanks.
Because giant breed puppy formulas, they're meticulously calibrated. They have highly specific calcium to phosphorus ratios.
Okay.
And controlled calorie densities. Because if a puppy gets too much calcium, their bones can actually mineralize and harden prematurely.
Wait, really? Just from too much calcium?
Yes. The growth plates start to close before the bone has reached its proper length or alignment. So if the bones grow faster or denser than the supporting ligaments can handle, going back to your analogy, the skyscraper tilts. The joints begin to warp.
Which means the blueprint is everything.
Everything.
If the skyscraper grows at the right speed, the foundation holds.
Exactly.
But that shifts us into the daily maintenance phase.
Right.
Because once the structure is built, how are you supposed to maintain a 100+ pound frame day to day without accidentally breaking it?
Well, it all revolves around one central lifelong metric.
Which is?
Body condition. Keeping a Cane Corso at a lean, athletic weight from puppyhood straight through to their senior years is the single most controllable factor in preventing premature breakdown.
And the source material gives a tactile test for this, which I thought was brilliant. Because, let's be real, wrestling a massive dog onto a scale every week just isn't realistic.
No, it's impossible.
So they say you should be able to run your hands along their side and feel the ribs with only light pressure.
Right, light pressure.
Not digging your fingers in, just resting them there. And visually, from above, there needs to be a distinct tucked-in waist behind the rib cage.
Yes. And if that waist vanishes into, like, a cylinder shape.
Like a sausage dog.
Exactly. Or if you have to press hard through a layer of fat to find a rib, that's a huge problem.
Why is it so bad, structurally?
Because every single extra pound is acting as a multiplier of force on those joints every single time the dog takes a step.
Wow, every step.
Every step. It accelerates the wear and tear on the cartilage exponentially.
Okay, but I have to push back here on behalf of every new working breed owner listening right now.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I have this deeply powerful, high-energy dog in my house. You're telling me I shouldn't take them out for a long, exhausting run to burn off that energy?
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
But how else do I keep them from tearing up my living room?
What's fascinating here is that we fundamentally misunderstand what these dogs were engineered to do.
How so?
Well, yes, Cane Corsos are working dogs, but they were bred for controlled, purposeful burst activity.
Burst activity, okay.
Historically, they guarded estates, they moved livestock in short bursts, they stayed close to a handler.
So they're not marathon runners?
No, they had the anatomy of powerlifters, not marathon runners. They were never meant to be distance joggers pounding on asphalt for 5 miles.
You know, when you look at their physical build, just the sheer mass of their chest and shoulders sustained distance running seems like it would just hammer their joints.
It absolutely does hammer them. Especially during their growth phase, it is highly destructive.
Because of the growth plates?
Yes, the soft areas of cartilage at the ends of the long bones where growth actually happens, those remain open and vulnerable for up to 18 months or even 2 years in giant breeds.
2 years? I had no idea it took that long.
It takes a long time. So the repetitive impact of forced running creates these little microfractures in that cartilage.
Ouch. And the source highlights a really brutal trap with this.
The delayed consequence, yeah.
Yeah, if you force a puppy into repetitive jumping or long-distance running before those plates close, The damage is completely silent.
Completely silent.
Like, you make the mistake when the dog is 8 months old, but the dog seems perfectly fine, running around having a great time.
Yep.
The consequence doesn't show up until the dog is, 5 years old, when that accumulated cartilage damage finally manifests as severe arthritis and they just start limping in the backyard one day.
Exactly. And because of that delayed timeline, owners rarely connect the joint failure at age 5 to the running they did when the dog was a puppy.
Right. They just think, oh, he's getting old.
Yeah, they think it's just bad luck or sudden aging, when in reality, the fuse was lit years ago.
Wow. That delayed consequence actually perfectly explains why we have to pivot to the next phase of this roadmap,
Which is,
actively hunting for unseen threats. We've talked about managing the exterior of the dog, right?
Yeah.
The muscles, the joints, the weight.
right.
But these dogs were bred to be incredibly stoic.
Clear.
Showing pain or weakness in a guarding context was like an evolutionary disadvantage. So if they hide exterior pain that well, I am completely at a loss for how an owner is supposed to catch an internal illness before it's too late.
Well, this is exactly where the rhythm of preventive veterinary care transitions from a mundane chore into your primary safety net.
Okay, the vet visits.
Yeah, a surprisingly common mistake is treating the vet like a mechanic.
What do you mean?
Like, you only go when the car is actively making a terrible noise. People finish the puppy vaccines and assume they don't need to go back unless the dog is visibly sick.
Oh, I see. But the experts in our source really hammer home the concept of baseline data.
Yes. Baseline data is essentially mapping out exactly what normal looks like for your specific dog's unique biology.
Right.
When a veterinarian examines your dog annually, they're establishing a baseline for the dog's resting heart rate, their baseline kidney and liver enzymes on a blood panel, and their baseline weight.
Because if you only bring the dog in when they are lethargic and vomiting, the vet is flying blind.
Completely blind.
They might hear a slight heart murmur, but they have zero reference point to know if that murmur has been there since birth and is totally harmless, or if it developed 3 weeks ago and indicates rapid heart failure.
Precisely. You need that history. And that proactive, preventative mindset extends heavily into parasite control, too.
Oh, right. Heartworm, intestinal worms, tick-borne diseases.
Yeah. A lot of owners of large guarding breeds think, well, my dog just patrols our large fenced yard. He doesn't go to dog parks. He doesn't leave the property, so I can skip the monthly preventatives.
But mosquitoes carrying heartworm and ticks carrying Lyme disease, they do not recognize property lines.
No, they don't.
They don't care about your fence.
They really don't. Year-round consistency is the only shield the dog has. Now, alongside parasites, there's an unseen threat that is chronically underestimated in large breeds.
What's that?
Dental disease.
Oh, okay. I was completely caught off guard by the mechanics of this in the source material.
Yeah.
Because I always just assumed big, powerful dogs had naturally tough teeth. You throw them a big bone and they're fine.
That's a huge misconception. The assumption is that dental care is just about cosmetic teeth whitening or, fixing bad doggy breath.
Right, exactly.
But the biological reality is far more dangerous.
How bad does it get?
Well, when tartar builds up on the teeth, it pushes the gums away,
Right.
and it creates these deep pockets of infection.
Ah, gross.
Yeah, and the mouth is highly vascular. So every single time that dog chews its food, it is literally pumping bacteria from those infected pockets directly into its bloodstream.
And the source points out that this bacteria doesn't just stay in the blood either. It filters through the internal organs.
Yeah.
It lands on the heart valves. It passes through the kidneys.
It's terrifying.
Over a period of years, chronic dental disease is basically microdosing the dog's vital organs with bacteria, causing permanent, irreversible organ damage.
Which is exactly why the veterinarians strongly advocate for making teeth brushing a literal daily routine.
Like as routine as feeding them dinner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No different than that. And they tie that daily hands-on interaction directly into their grooming advice, too.
Oh, right, the grooming. Because a Cane Corso has a short single coat, right? You aren't doing elaborate styling with bows and ribbons.
No, definitely not.
Grooming a Cane Corso is not a spa day. The way I kept thinking about it, it's like a daily TSA pat-down.
A TSA pat-down, that's a great way to put it.
Right. It is a highly structured security scan.
Yeah.
When you are brushing that short coat, you are running your hands firmly over their joints, their ribs, their neck. You are mapping their bodies so you can instantly detect physical anomalies.
Things like a new lump under the skin, or maybe a strange patch of heat over a joint.
Or just a subtle flinch when you touch their shoulder. You are finding the threats before they become critical.
This raises an important question, though, about human nature.
Oh, what's that?
What do you actually do when you find something during that pat down, or when you notice a slight behavioral shift?
Well, you go to the vet, right?
You'd think so, but because of that stoicism we talked about, the dog is not going to cry out and hand you a diagnosis.
Right, they hide it. So you have to become a detective looking for micro patterns.
Exactly.
Like, did they leave a quarter of their breakfast? Are they taking an extra 5 seconds to stand up from their bed in the morning?
Are they hesitating before stepping up into the car?
Right.
And the fatal trap here is the wait-and-see approach.
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that.
Most people are. An owner notices that subtle stiffness, but they rationalize it. They decide to wait 2 or 3 weeks to see if the dog just, like, tweaked a muscle and will sleep it off.
But the veterinary consensus in the source is super clear on this. A single day of low energy is a fluke. But a pattern of 3 or 4 days is a mandate to call the clinic.
A mandate. Because by the time a stoic working breed is actually crying out or actively refusing to walk, the disease or the joint failure is incredibly advanced.
Because they will mask the pain until it is physically impossible to hide it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that profound stoicism makes their entry into their senior years exceptionally tricky to navigate.
Oh, man, yeah.
They hide their vulnerabilities so effectively that the transition often sneaks up on the owner completely.
Which triggers the final major shift in our roadmap today: senior care and unexpected emergencies.
Right.
Because they pull a massive fake out on us. A well-maintained Cane Corso at 7 or 8 years old might still look like an absolute powerhouse linebacker on the outside.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful coat. Still looks strong.
But internally, the biological clock is ticking loudly.
Very loudly. The internal wear and tear, like the gradual die-off of nephrons in the kidneys, the slowing of the liver's ability to filter toxins, the degradation of joint fluid, those unseen mechanisms are vastly outpacing the dog's outward appearance.
So the management strategy has to undergo a radical shift. You just can't rely on visual cues anymore.
No, you can't.
Annual vet visits need to become biannual. Blood work transitions from being like an optional baseline to a mandatory early warning radar system for organ failure.
Absolutely.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The source material spends time exploring the psychological toll this takes on the owner.
Yeah, the emotional side of it.
There is this distinct phenomenon of owner guilt that creeps in when a giant breed starts to age.
It's very real.
You've spent 8 years looking at this invincible protective animal, and suddenly they're struggling to navigate the 3 steps off the back porch.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. And as an owner, you feel incredibly responsible. You start desperately researching supplements and laser therapies, feeling like you've failed them if you can't restore their mobility.
But the experts clarify a really crucial shift in mindset here. Aging gracefully with a giant breed isn't about aggressively trying to reverse the biological aging process.
Because you can't.
You cannot stop the cellular degradation. Success at this stage is simply about hyper-observation and environmental adaptation.
Okay, so you stop trying to fix the dog and you start fixing the environment.
Exactly.
You put down yoga mats or rugs over slick hardwood floors so they don't splay their hips.
You buy a ramp for the SUV so they don't have to absorb the impact of jumping down.
You provide grace instead of a cure.
Grace instead of a cure. I love that. But inevitably, as the systems age, the statistical risk of an emergency spikes.
Yeah, that's just reality.
And the source material offers a very stark practical warning here.
What's that?
Standing in the lobby of an emergency veterinary clinic at 11:30 p.m. with a collapsed dog is the absolute wrong time to be frantically scrolling through your phone.
Oh, God, yeah.
Trying to remember the name of their heart medication or the date of their last rabies vaccine.
It's an absolute nightmare scenario. Over an 8 or 9 year relationship, you've probably moved or, seen a few different specialists. That medical history gets totally fragmented.
It's everywhere.
So the experts strongly suggest using digital organizational tools like the VitalPet app to consolidate everything.
VitalPet is great for that.
Yeah. Vaccine records, weight charts, current medication dosages. It all needs to be instantly accessible.
Because in a crisis, the emergency vet needs hard data, not panicked estimates.
Right. I think he takes a white pill is not helpful.
Not helpful at all. And crucially, you need to know today, right now, where the nearest 24/7 emergency surgical clinic is located.
Yes. If your dog's stomach bloats at 2:00 a.m., you should already know the fastest highway route to get there.
Trying to pull up Google Maps and read reviews while your dog is in shock costs critical, life-saving minutes.
It's terrifying to think about, but so important. Now, before we wrap up this timeline, there is one final point the source touches on that essentially loops us all the way back to the genetics at the beginning.
Oh, the breeding awareness.
Yes, it's about responsible breeding awareness. Even if you are simply a pet owner who has zero intention of ever breeding your dog,
Right. Even if they're spayed or neutered.
you still have an obligation to intimately understand the health testing and structural standards of the breed.
Because when you walk a beautiful, well-behaved Cane Corso down the street, people are going to stop you.
Oh, constantly.
They are going to admire the dog, ask where they can buy one, or even casually ask if you want to breed your dog with theirs.
Right. And if you understand what responsible breeding actually demands, the deep genetic testing, the thousands of dollars in structural evaluations, the rigorous temperament testing.
Then you become a gatekeeper for the breed.
Exactly. You can actively educate people and steer them away from making terrible, impulsive decisions with backyard breeders.
Which helps everyone in the long run.
It really does. So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at this entire chronological map, from a structurally sound 8-week-old puppy to an accommodated 8-year-old senior,
The core ethos of Cane Corso ownership becomes pretty glaringly obvious.
it really does. This is not a passive, low-maintenance breed that you can just leave in the backyard with a bowl of food.
No, it demands an architectural mindset.
It requires rigid structure, meticulous preventative health care, and a highly observant, engaged owner.
The profound beauty of it, as noted in the source, is that this specific breed gives back exactly what you invest in it.
Yeah.
If you put in the grueling preventative work, you are rewarded with a calm, steady, remarkably loyal, and majestic companion.
Honestly, studying this roadmap, it feels like a masterclass in how to care for anything valuable in our lives.
It really does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the absolute necessity of a lifelong collaborative partnership with a trusted veterinarian.
You just cannot navigate this dynamic map alone.
You can't. A vet who intimately knows your dog's history, their behavioral quirks, and their biological baselines is the single most protective asset you could possibly acquire for your dog.
It's a team effort that requires constant vigilance year after year. And honestly, it leaves me with a final thought for you to ponder.
All right, let's hear it.
We've just spent this entire deep dive exploring how absolutely critical baseline data is for our dogs, right?
Right.
Yearly blood panels, daily tactile physical exams, meticulous weight tracking to the pound, all just to catch subtle, hidden diseases before they become catastrophic.
Yeah, we bend over backwards for
We do. We bend over backwards to give our dogs this proactive, hypervigilant care. It really makes you wonder, why are we humans so incredibly bad at applying these exact same proactive baseline data health principles to our own bodies?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Right.
We follow the maintenance manual for the car. We follow the chronological roadmap for the dog.
But we usually just wait for the wheels to fall off ourselves before we ever call a doctor.
We really do.
Something to think about the next time you're giving your dog their daily TSA pat down. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.